Well, today I'm going to try my hand at making some little Grecon style dolls. We'll see how this goes. Check out these Monopoly pieces. That's what I plan to use for their shoes. I can't wait to show you. It's finally green outside and stuff is growing. Well, I know I rarely show my face on my videos, but I thought, hey, I'm just going to warn you guys when I'm about to make these dolls that this is truly, truly just an experiment. So you might be in for a surprise. They might not turn out as good as what I want them to. So today's video is brought to you because I was inspired by my friend Lorraine, who has Serenata. It's also a miniature channel, and she has the cutest little dolls. And these are her little dolls. So the grandma and grandpa's in the center and grandma's on the right. They're just like my favorite, and they're just so cute. And she features them in a lot of her videos, and I just thought they were so precious. And then recently she did a video and explained that these are made by a company called Grecon. So, of course, I went down a rabbit hole and I had to find out as much information as I possibly could. And then I found Zoe. She's the creator of a website called grecondale.com. And the beautiful Zoe allowed me to use some of her pictures, and you've got to visit her website. So, to begin with, I want to tell you a little bit about the creator of these lovely dolls. The name Grecon came from a combination of the letters in her name. So, Mrs. Cohen was born in 1894 in Germany, and she attended an arts and craft college in Berlin and began to make cloth dolls and toys and sold them in a little shop in the same city. So the Grecon trademark was registered in Germany in 1920, and in 1927, Mrs. Cohen produced her first miniature cloth dolls. In 1936, aged 41, she fled Nazi Germany and came to England, where she settled in London and resumed production of her dolls. These little treasures were sold at Harrods and Hamleys as well as smaller shops, and she sold to toy companies also as well, Barton in particular, which I've done a video on in the past. Miss Cohen never married. She lived alone and made her dolls from a workroom there. And she outsourced at various stages of productions to home workers. And all the home workers, I guess, called her Connie. So these dolls were produced until 1986, at which time she would have been 92 years old, if you can imagine. And she died in 1991 at age 96. These little treasures are just incredible, and they have grown and have become very collectible over the years. Now, if you visit grecondale.com, which is Zoe's website, you'll be able to get a lot more information than what I can possibly share here. So this is the 1930s dolls, and you can see they had melon-shaped feet, and then they started producing the Oxford style shoe. And then near the end of her career, they were producing an Oxford style shoe, although it was like much smaller. So it's easy to date these dolls by the type of metal shoe that they have. So you can see here some tiny feet characters. They're so stinking cute. I just love them. Now, of course, there's no way I could come up with authentic shoes, and the closest metal shoes that I could think of is Monopoly pieces. And these Monopoly pieces have actually been retired. So I was lucky to come about finding four of them. So I'm going to make little armatures, so little metal armatures, and then wrap string around them, and that's how I plan on making the dolls. And I'm going to make it all out of one piece of wire. So I just kind of take and I make a little loop, and then I'm just going to twist the end of the wire all around the loop just to make it nice and secure. And I think the easiest way for me to do this without, really knowing how the wire armature looks inside of the real dolls is to try and do it all in one piece. If I do it all in one piece, then that way the armature itself will be super sturdy. If I tried to make it by putting the arms on later on, I think that that would be a mistake because they could somehow get loose. So keeping it all together is probably the best idea. So it looks to me like in the photos on grecondale.com that the head was secured by a little halo at the top. So, and I'm just gonna make like the little round part that the head goes on. Now I do make a mistake while I'm making these. The first one that I did, I made the halo a little bit too large, and the second one that I wrapped, I ended up making this little round part of it for the head just a little bit smaller, and I think it makes the neck profile look a lot better. You'll see what I mean in a little bit after I get them all wrapped up. So my goal is to make these dolls 3 inches. So you can, or Grecon did make full size 1/12 scale dolls, and they also made I think they appear to be 1/16th, which is very common in England because people were buying the Trang houses, so they were making them to fit that 1/16th size. So if I make the body 2 inches, this is my thought, then that'll give me an inch to do the hair and the head. And then, of course, the little boots are going to add even more height to the dolls. So I'm going to go from the halo, I'll call that the top of the neck, to the ends of the feet, 2 inches. And so I'm just going to bend it back on itself, and then wrap it really tightly around. And that'll be the full length from one leg all the way up to the neck. So you can see I'm just twisting it to make it a little bit more sturdy. And I'm going to go all the way up to the top of that halo. And then I'm going to bend it out and make the first arm. So as soon as I get to the top, see I've got right there, then I'm going to decide how long I want the arm to be. And I'm going to fold it over. And again, I'm going to take the pliers and I'm just going to twist it really tight so that the arm is nice and tight. So, and I'm going to twist it and not leave it as two separate pieces so that it's all one piece and it's good and sturdy. And then as soon as I'm finished twisting that arm, then I'm going to go ahead and make an arm the same size on the other side. So, and I'm going to do it the same way. So I'm going to pull it out, pull the wire out, find the length of the arm, bend it over, and then twist it just like I'm twisting this one. And then I will go back down the entire body, twisting it around, and then I'll make the last leg. So you'll see what I'm doing here. So this is arm number 2. So I'm just making sure it's the same length as the other arm. And sorry, it's out of frame, guys. And then I just twist those 2 wires together to make the second arm. And it's a little tough. This wire is um, pretty stiff, so I have to use the pliers to get the really small stuff. And then you can't see because I'm out of the frame. I'm just wrapping the wire now around the body. Then I'm coming down. I'm going to make that second leg and then wrap it upward and then finish it off by wrapping it around the body. So I hope that made sense to you, but it's all one piece, so should make things fairly easy. So, and I stayed within the 2 inches, which is what my goal was. It was funny because when I was talking to Zoe, she said, "Oh, she's make them small." She says, "Because they get big easy." So I guess it gets a little out of control, and pretty soon you think you're making a 1/12 scale doll, and all of a sudden it's 14 inches tall. No. Um, but anyway, so those are my two little armatures. So now I've got to make the heads. So this is actually some vintage fabric from a hanky that's probably from the 1940s. It's a really old hanky. So I took the parts that did not have holes in them, and I'm going to use that. So as you can see, I've got a little cotton ball, which I'm using for the stuffing, which I think is about the perfect size. And then I'm just kind of tightening it up and seeing, yeah, that looks about the right size. So, yeah, again, I made those little halos a little bit too large. You'll see, I'm really disappointed in myself. I wish I would have thought that one through a little bit better. But oh well, the second one turns out better than the first one. So I'm just tightening a little piece of string around it or thread around it just to hold it, make sure that it's good and tight. And you can see here, I'm just gonna make a little slip knot, and there you go. So that's what the head is gonna look like. So then I've got to feed this little head, the excess material, through the little halo. And this is how it appears to be sewn on um, from the pictures that I've seen on grecondale.com. So there you go. So that's what it kind of looks like. But I got to make sure that it's really down tight. And then I'm going to leave this little thread still attached, and then I'm going to sew the head onto the halo. And then that way that head is going to be on good and secure. So I'm just going to speed up the video process a little bit here so you don't have to watch me doing it. And so it's a little easier if I speed it up, and then that way you can kind of see what I'm doing. So that's kind of the idea that I have. It's a little awkward to sew such a little thing on. The arms and legs seem to be getting in my way a little bit. Once again, the second one that I did turned out so much easier. So this first one, which is the one I chose to film, of course. Should always make one prototype and then film, but no, I always do things the opposite way. Well, at least when you see me fumbling around, then you know that when you fumble around yourself when you're making stuff, you know, hey, it's real. So, and as you can see, I've got it all sewn on, and now I'm just gonna just do a couple little slip knots and then trim it off. So, yeah, I hope they turn out as cute as the ones that you can buy on eBay. But let me tell you, they're a little bit pricey, a little bit out of my price range, anyways. And I don't think they're quite as common here in North America. I've never seen one in person, so I've only ever seen them on Lorraine's channel, and then, of course, when I was searching the internet. And it was so nice of Zoe to allow me to use all of her photographs and the information off of her website. I really, really appreciate it. And she's quite a massive collector. I mean, if you go to her website, she's got so much stuff documented about this beautiful little company. So it's quite an interesting little company. And I love, I only took a few photos from her website, but I really love that they also, Grecon also made all kinds of like little dolls that were like the Queen's coronation, and oh, some of the stuff is like really, really neat. So now I've got crochet cotton is what I've chose to use because of the scale of this doll is quite small, being only 3 inches. So didn't want to use bulky yarn. So I've sped up the film once again. So what I've done is I'm just wrapping it as tight as I possibly can, and I'm using tacky glue during the process so that the string is not going to be shifting around and moving. So, and because you want to be able to pose these dolls, like they're completely posable, so it's best to make sure that whatever yarn or cotton thread that you happen to be wrapping them up with, that it's securely attached, because you don't want it falling off. It would just ruin the dolls. So, and I'm actually putting a great deal, I wouldn't say great deal, but a healthy amount of tacky glue on it, especially at the ends of the hands. The ends of the feet will be inside of the little shoes, so we won't have to worry about that quite so much. But definitely the ends of the hands have to be carefully glued so that they don't unwrap. So, and as you can see, I mean, I'm going over it many, 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 many times. And see, I start off with a good, healthy amount of tacky glue and then just keep on going. So, hopefully that'll hold everything in place and that the dolls won't unravel after the fact. But I mean, if you look at the dolls that are made by Grecon, I mean, some of these dolls are from the 1930s and they appear to be in pretty good condition, some of them. So, yeah, pretty cool. I would love, absolutely love to be able to afford to get one of these dolls for myself in 1/16 scale to live in my Trang house. But I guess the next best thing is to make my own. So I think at this point I haven't really 100% decided, but I think when these dolls are finished, I'd like to make a little boy doll and a little girl doll. And I have a bunch of mohair, so I do have some nice hair that I can put on them. So just gotta kind of wait until they're all completely dry before I can start with doing the facial features and the hair. So I've just added some tacky glue around the waist and finished it up at the waist, and that's what the doll looks like. Now, do you see what I mean when I say the neck is too thick? Like it really doesn't look right. So that particular doll, I'm gonna have to put something that's high collared on it to hide that, because the second doll, as you can see, the second doll's on the right. It looks so much nicer. So now I've got out my little Monopoly shoes here, and let's see what it's going to look like. So yeah, the shoes are probably a little bit oversized for the doll, but not too bad. I think it kind of looks cute. I mean, definitely different. So if you're watching, you're probably just chuckling. I don't know if anybody's ever tried doing this out of Monopoly shoes, but there you go. So I'm just filling the inside of the shoes here with some tacky glue, and then I'm going to use some air dry clay. So I'm just filling this up really good. the air dry clay, when it dries, it does shrink a little bit. So if you don't use a generous amount of tacky glue, there's no way that that would hold together. So I'm just squishing in a little bit of air dry clay and trying to not go overboard and put too much in, but enough that it's going to hold this thing together. So I'm just kind of stuffing it in there. And I don't want it to, I still want to be able to see all the features of the little Monopoly shoe. So I'm going to have to go back in afterwards and clean it up just a little bit after I get the dolls attached to the shoes. So, yeah, I know that looks so weird. But hey, $5 for all four of these pieces, considering these Monopoly pieces are actually discontinued. So I'm also slathering a generous amount of tacky glue onto the bottoms of the doll feet. And because I want this, when they're dried, to be completely secure and not loose at all. So, and I'm also going to have to go in and do a little bit of painting so that it's not quite as noticeable that it's air dry clay there at the base, because of course I don't have proper Grecon shoes. So, but it's pretty close. So I'm just kind of seeing. So I've got two different styles of Monopoly shoes, so I want to make sure at least I've got the pairs correct. Okay, so now I'm just going to squish each leg into a shoe, and look, they stand up all by themselves. Okay, that's something that I didn't expect. I have to tell you. I was not 100% convinced that these would be freestanding, but they are, and I'm tickled about that. So, yeah, the torsos are perhaps a little longer than they should be, but oh well. If I do it again, well, chances are I'll never be able to find four more Monopoly shoes. But if I ever was to make them again, I certainly would make the torsos a little bit shorter and the legs a little bit longer. But they're still cute. So, so I've got them. Yeah, I've got excess. What do you call it? Air dry clay kind of sticking out that I got to clean off here a little bit. Yeah, and a little bit of excess glue kind of making a mess. So I'll clean them up and then I'll give you a better shot of what they look like. So they're kind of, wow, they stand. I'm so shocked that they stand up independently. Um, I thought maybe they would need a little doll stand, but no, they're cool. So so that's what they look like so far. And as you can see, they need to dry overnight. And tomorrow I'll get after them and get a little bit of painting done on them. About an hour after this part of the video landed or ended, I decided there's no way. I could not handle that one with the thick neck. So I pulled the shoes off and I went back in and I made doll number 3. And he's the tall guy on the left. And as you can see, he doesn't have that weird thick neck. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be making wigs for both of these dolls. So the first step is to cover the entire doll in saran wrap or plastic wrap and then place an elastic around their head to protect their little head. And after I've done that, then I'm going to use some cross-stitch fabric, which has lots and lots of sizing in it. And I'm going to be placing that over top of the head. So first of all, you wet the cross-stitch fabric and you make sure that it's good and wet. You wring it out well, and then you place that over the heads, and that's going to make the base of the wig. So I'm going to be taking some elastic bands, and these are those little tiny elastic bands that you can get at the dollar store, and I'm going to be putting those over each of the wig bases, and then I have to leave it for at least 12 hours to dry really well. So you can see I'm making it as tight to the head as I possibly can, and just making sure that it's really good and tight. And as soon as I've done that, then I'm going to slather the entire top of the head with tacky glue. So I'm just going to smear it in with my fingers onto the wet fabric, and that will make the little cap for the wig top nice and strong. And so when it dries, it'll come off and keep its shape. Okay, it's been a few hours. I've taken the little wig caps off, and you can see how it's kept its shape. So now I'm going to just trim it in the shape of a wig. So just in the shape of your hairline. So it'll go all the way back to the nape of the neck, and then it'll go up at the front of the face. And that will give it a nice shape. So you can see here, I'm just trimming it off nice. And then I try it on the little doll, make sure it's the right shape, which it is, but it's a little long in the back, so I'm going to have to trim that off. And then I'm going to have to trim out where the ears would go. So just like the way the shape of your hairline goes, if you put your hair up in a ponytail. So that's exactly what I'm trying to do. So I'm making it so it's not too long in the back. And then I look at the front of it and make sure that it's in the right place. And there you go. So that's what I have to do for each of the dolls. Next, I'm going to glue some hair onto the little caps. So I put the caps back on the doll. And remember, I haven't removed the saran wrap yet because I don't want to get this mess all over the dolls. And I'm just going ahead and I'm gluing some mohair onto each of the dolls. So I don't have any particular rhyme or reason how I'm gluing this hair on. I'm just making sure that the heads are totally covered in hair. So I've sped up this portion of it because it's a little out of frame, but you can see I'm just kind of placing the hair on to the top of the doll's head. And I'm just making sure that every part of the scalp is covered by some hair. And then once this glue dries, then I'll be able to do some form of a style on the doll. Now the hair is dried for a long time. I've peeled them off of the top of the doll's heads. And I'm just putting some glue inside of the little wig. And I've taken the saran wrap off of the dolls, and I'm now just gluing the hair onto each of the dolls. Now the little boy doll, of course, his hair is going to need a little bit more work, but it's all basically there. So you can see I'm just putting glue directly into the wig, or trying to. It's how it's giving me a hard time coming out. And then I'm smearing it around with my finger, and then I'm putting it on his little head. Now he's going to need a little bit of a hairstyle yet, but yeah, the hair is basically there. So the little girl's hair I'm quite pleased with. The boy's hairstyle is a little bit more difficult to do. So there you can see I've got them with the hair on. And I also used a little bit of that cross-stitch fabric and glued some hair on. And I also made a little mustache for the boy. So I'm quite pleased with the way their hair has turned out. I do end up taking some spray starch and starching down the little boy's hair. And you can see I just used that saran wrap and I tied it around his head. And I'm going to leave him like that for a couple of hours just to make sure that his hair comes out flat. So it's been a couple of hours and I'm kind of pressing his hair down. He's got a little bit of balding at the crown, but I guess that looks realistic. And you can see that's what they both look like. Now I take out some acrylic paint in all different colors, and I'm going to go ahead and speed it up and paint in the little features. So where the features are really tiny, rather than doing it with a tiny brush, I thought I'd show you how I did it with a toothpick, because that'll make it easier for everybody that might not have all those fine kind of brushes. So I painted in the eyes in white. I gave her little pink cheeks. Then I mixed some brown umber and white, and I'm making little eyebrows. And then I've got some dark red, and I'm just making their little mouths. And then I go ahead and put, with a toothpick, a little dot of blue on each of them. And then I'm going to go in and put a tiny, tiny little dot of black for the pupil. And yeah, I made her a little tiny nose, and made him a little tiny nose. And that's what these little dolls look like. So I do have to spend some time making some outfits for them, but so far so good. They're not too terribly bad. I think he's a much nicer doll than she is, because his legs and torso are more, yeah, they're just more better proportioned. They look a little bit better. So, oops, he's stuck on her hair. So, and they're not quite dry, like the eyes and the nose and the mouths. Everything is still wet. But I think I'll leave it at this for today's video. You can see here he's just a little bit under 3.5 inches, and he stands independently, which is very cool. And her finished from shoe to top of the head is probably 3.25 inches. He's 3.5 inches. So they're perfect. I think, like, size wise, they really work for me. I still have to go in and paint where that air dry clay is there at the bottom of the shoes, so that I can make it look more like socks. And I'll have to sand that out, but that will be for another day. But yeah, I mean, not quite a Grecon, but almost. If you enjoyed today's video and would like to help support my channel, you can do so by buying me a coffee. Just go to www.buymeacoffee.com/Lisa Dobo. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. And thank you once again to grecondale.com for allowing me to share all of her knowledge and wonderful pictures. That's super appreciated. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please subscribe. It's free of charge, and it really does help my channel grow. And thanks again to everyone that has helped to support my channel by going to buymeacoffee.com. That's what keeps this channel afloat. Once again, everyone, have the best day ever, and thanks for watching.